The theme of my monthly video hop is Bounty of the Season, and my card is going to feature a flower card in autumnal tones. To add more interest, I'm using my Distress watercolor pencils. The colors I've chosen were inspired by palette 313 in the color cube. As you can see, one of the colors is ground espresso. I'm scribbling it all over a piece of watercolor paper. First, I go over it quickly with the pencil held on its side. Then I go over it more carefully with the pencil held upright to get into the valleys of the paper. I hold the paper down on my surface with magnets and spray it with water from my Distress sprayer. Then I use a flat brush to rub out the pigment. I repeat the process with the other colors: Villainous Potion, Seedless Preserves, Wild Honey, and finally Kitsch Flamingo. I felt that I didn't get enough of the pink color, so I added more by using the brush directly on the pencil. With my paper colored, I can die cut all the parts for the flower card. It's a Spellbinders die set that came out earlier this year. Naturally, I used ground espresso for the wooden parts of the card. There's a detailed cut list in my blog post on valley-oak-paper.com. A direct link is in the description box below. The 4-petal flowers I'm cutting from Villainous Potion and the top layer from Seedless Preserves. I'm cutting out the roses from Seedless Preserves and the top layer from Kitsch Flamingo. I'm also cutting the base of the awning and buckets from Kitsch Flamingo. Finally, Wild Honey will be the base of the foliage and the awning stripes. Now I have all the parts for the card, so I can get gluing. This is the base of the card. I've cut it out of Accent Opaque 2, and now I'm stacking the die cuts for stability. I'm also stacking the base of the awning so I can pop it up on foam tape on the finished card. Then I add the awning stripes and finally the wooden top. Turning back to the card, I add the top and the sides. The undercarriage goes behind the rest of the card. I'm also adding the pink centers to the wooden wheels, but I'm not gluing the wheels to the cart right now. That's because I haven't decided on the layout yet. Then I'm gluing together flowers and foliage. I die cut the flowers and foliage twice to get a nice full display. I'm gluing a handle to a large bucket. I think I only used one wide and one skinny bucket in the end. Now I want to add some more detail to the flowers and buckets. I'm using some ground espresso to add shade between and around the flowers. I'm careful not to add too much water or the glue will dissolve. I'm also adding shade to the buckets. Here I'm adding Villainous Potion and Seedless Preserves to the flower centers. I'm creating highlights with Kitsch Flamingo and white acrylic paint. I'm going to need the background to lay out the card on. For this, I'm using 3 of the colors from the card: Ground Espresso, Wild Honey, and Kitsch Flamingo. I'm letting them dry naturally so that the colors will blend more. Once it's mostly dried, I run the paper through a gorgeous embossing folder called Autumn Breeze. It's the Spellbinders embossing folder of the month for September. And this is the result. This is such a pretty folder. I've cut down the background to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now I'm layering a slightly smaller piece of accent opaque behind it. This yellow foam is from the dollar store. I like it because it's so thin. I glue it to the back of my embossed panel. I buy card bases, but I don't like the color. It's too gray. So I always glue a hammermill panel to the front. And here I'm gluing the background to the card base. I'm also going to need a sentiment. For that, I'm going to foil the copperplate Happy Birthday from this Spellbinders die set. I like it because it includes dies for both sentiments. So I'm turning on my well-loved glimmer machine, moving it to the side so I can cut the foil. I've chosen polished brass because I think it goes well with the wild honey. I'm cutting it with my Alpha rotary trimmer and taping it to a piece of hammermill. Then the light turns green and I press the button and put the sentiment on the silicone surface. When the second light turns steady green, I take the glimmer platform and my foil sandwich to my Spellbinders Platinum 6. And this is the result. Isn't it stunning? I love the copperplate series. It's so elegant. For die cutting, I'm using my little Scout. Ever since I taped together the platform with double-sided tape, I'm using it much more. Sorry, sidekick. I'm cutting out a second layer from accent opaque because I likely want to pop up the sentiment. Then I glue them together. Now I have all the components so I can put together my card. I've added foam tape behind the awning and behind the body of the card. First I glue down the awning because that's the widest part. Next I glue the 2 supports for the awning to the embossed panel. They should align left and right with the ends of the wooden beam at the top of the awning. Then I adhere the card itself centered on the awning. I decide to glue the wheels to the cart. The wheel centers should sit right above the thickest part of the undercarriage. That's where the wheel axles run. I glue a wide bucket behind the right wheel. Then I add some villainous potion flowers. The part that's on top of the wheel gets glued down, and I add 2 layers of foam tape under the part that hangs free. Next I cut off the bottom of a skinny bucket to make it look as if it sits on the counter. Then I can glue it to the left awning support. I add some roses on top of the bucket, but under the awning. My phone died, but I glued more villainous potion flowers behind and to the right of the cart. And the final rose die cut I'm letting spill down from the cart counter. I had to use double foam tape to support the top of that die cut. I want to add some more depth to my composition, so I'm mixing ground espresso and villainous potion to use as a shadow wash. I'm adding some behind the popped up flowers to the right of the cart. Then a little bit behind the wheels. Also next to the textured die cuts on the card to help them stand out more. And under the roses. And finally under the card so it stands out from the background. I have put foam tape behind the sentiment and now I'm placing it on the card. And here's the finished card. I added some Spellbinders Color Essentials gems in gold, pink, and berry. You can see what a difference the last shadow wash made to the depth. I hope that the abundance of flowers, fall colors, and textures in this card remind you of the bounty of the season, the theme of my September video haul. Don't forget to check out the other card makers in this month's haul. Links to their videos are found in the description box below. That's also where you'll find links to the products I used for this card. If you enjoyed watching me create it, I hope you like this video and maybe even subscribe to my channel. I post card making content regularly, both long form and shorts. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.